Hey, what's up, everybody? Sorry, I had a couple like uh issues clicking around here. I don't know if it's the StreamYard. I keep hearing these StreamYard things or whatnot. But welcome to the 300th audio podcast. I don't know. I don't do these live much on YouTube. I've probably only done like 4 or 5 live audio podcasts, but I have brought some audio podcasts to YouTube, but again, not all of them. But I thought this would be a great one. Um, 300 is a big number. That's a lot of work. And this week, I decided who better than Sergio to be my co-host to talk about some of the things we're going to talk about. So um, I always say this: if you're not familiar with Sergio, you must live under a rock. But if you're not, you're going to be familiar with him soon here. Sergio is the host of Show Me the Money Club, and he is I would say over time, especially the primary contributor at the Rideshare Guy. He's just kind of the guy at the Rideshare Guy. He's almost the Rideshare Guy. Sorry, Harry, but
Well,
Sergio, thank you for joining me.
thank you, man. Congrats. Seriously, 300 is a commitment. And, all I can say is congrats. Hopefully for the next 300. Hey, I'll make you a deal. I'll be here on the 500th, not 600.
The five. Right. When I was looking at all these markers, like 100 celebrated 200, and I saw 300 was like, it's even a badge you can get at Podbean where I'm hosting my audio podcast, but 400 isn't. It's weird. 400 starts to not count, and then it's 500 is again.
Oh, okay. The
So it's like
500.
1, 2, 3, 5, and 1,000. Like
Okay,
they
500.
take out other numbers.
So,
Like
I don't know if I'll be around for the thousands, but 500, if I'm around in any capacity, shape, or form, I promise I'm here.
yeah,
So, there you go.
yeah. So you guys, we're gonna get into some topics this year or tonight about um kind of what some of the things that Sergio and I have done other collabs throughout this year. We met in person and did one. I'm going to see him again in person in March. Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
For Curbivore, but I'm also going there for a podcast thing in LA, and it's his birthday, so I'm kind of stoked about all that too. But we're going to run through some of what's gone on 2023, looking into 2024. We won't get into specific legislation, but we can talk about some of the things that have happened that you guys should know about. So let me just say hi to the chat here real quick. I'm not used to doing this because I don't do these live. But thank you, Brandon Diaz, for the and Cody for saying the 300th. Yes, Traveler, how are you? Kevin Hawthorne, Did You Know Mad, Mr. Noise, and Good Attitude Services. Thank you, guys, and anybody else who might join or who watches on the replay. So I was trying to mix this up. I mean, I want to make sure that we touch on food delivery, but clearly Sergio and I both old school date back to rideshare well before any of these other apps were around. Not just food delivery, but shopping and last mile couriers and all these other apps. I mean, all there was rideshare for a long time. So I guess rideshare is the place to start. So I talked to drivers in last mile and all the spaces, including rideshare too, but you talk to a lot more rideshare drivers. What is your take on what rideshare is right now, first of all?
Okay. Yeah. So obviously, I'm with the Rideshare Guy, so kind of makes sense that we just
He
mostly,
is the rideshare guy. Sorry, Harry.
you say that, but you know what? I did actually a behind the wheel. We do these every Thursday. We put them up with successful drivers from around the country, and I
Mm-hmm.
thought the year-end one should be with Harry. Not that he drives, but I said, you know what? I need to have you on the behind the wheel. Let's talk about the 2023, what happens in rideshare and what we're looking forward to, which is what we're going to talk about a little bit today. So it'll be like a preamble of what we talked about. And to his credit, he said, that's why we hire people like you, and you've become the face of the Rideshare Guy anyway. So it was very complimentary, and I appreciate that, of course. Rideshare is tough right now, Steve. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
as you know, we don't sugarcoat things.
Yeah.
We call it the way we see it, and you like it, you like it. You don't like it, I'm sorry, but we have our hand on the pulse of the rideshare community so much now because I get literally 1,000 emails plus a week now. Okay, when we started Show Me the Money, I would get like 20 a day. I'd be like, oh, I get those. And now the show has grown to a level, as I'm sure your viewers know, and interviewing CEOs and all these things. And David Richard, the Lyft CEO. I was with Dara Khosrowshahi, the Uber CEO, last Monday. Finally, though, the good thing is that the community has grown so much that they have to listen to our community now. That's the good part, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the bad part, well, it's not bad, but the tough part to convince these people that people are struggling out there as rideshare drivers is something else, right? And the struggle is true. The struggle is correct when it comes to rideshare. There are a lot more drivers out there. All you have to do is, you don't have to believe me. You can go listen to the Uber conference call last quarter, which was 2 weeks ago. Globally, Uber added year to year, year on year, 1.5 million drivers onto the platform. They were at 5 million last quarter. This quarter, year to year, compared, is 6.5 million drivers. Now,
Just US.
no, not US, global.
Global. Okay.
But if you look at that 30% growth, the US numbers in supply growth, they call it supply.
Yeah,
Supply
I was simply asking because I know Tony Hsu's numbers were skewed when he met with Harry. I think he was alluding to this as overall, but nonetheless, what did he say? 13 million. So I'm
Yeah, he
thinking
said
there still has
13
to
million.
be 6,
Yeah,
7,
yeah,
and that's just here in the United States.
yeah, yeah. But then their matrix are very weird of what they call a driver or a dasher, right? Like if you
Mm-hmm.
did one trip, let's say per month, then you're considered an active driver, right?
Sure.
So Uber's is a little bit more stringent, but the point is supply is growing. Why? Supply is growing because people's W-2s are not enough, because W-2s are not what people make it out to be anymore either. Just like, independent contractor gig work is. So when you have a gap between your W-2 income and your bills, what do? Easiest, job to start, no interview process, upload some documents and you're earning money. Now, you may not be earning money that everybody calls, great money, 30, $50 an hour, but it is something that you can do immediately, right? And close your gap between your W-2 and your bills, even for a short period of time or for a long period of time. So these companies are out there providing this kind of income opportunity to millions of people. And when that happens, though, if you look at Uber's growth for everything that they do, delivery and rideshare, the demand is not growing at the same pace as the supply is growing. And in fact, Dara Khosrowshahi said it is the first time in the company's history that supply is outstripping demand. Now, in our world, everything is supply demand. It's basic economics. When
Mm-hmm.
you have a lot of something, the price on whatever that is going to go down. Okay, it could be apples, it could be tomatoes, it could be potatoes, whatever it is. Well, look at it simple. Don't complicate things. Keep it simple. This is what's happening in rideshare now. Okay, there are a lot more drivers, and the pie is the same size. So everybody's sliver of the pie is thinner and thinner and thinner. So there is a problem. I mean, oversaturation, everybody calls it, but to Uber, that's beneficial. It's a tailwind, because to them, the most important thing is how fast can I pick up a passenger, period, because they're
Right.
competing with Lyft, right? So to them, this is a major tailwind. What's happening in the macroeconomic, conditions that exist, and people are in forced driving because barriers to entry very easy, right? Upload 4 documents, boom, you're on. You're earning money. Turn the app on. Next trip, you made $10. Now, to them, it being a tailwind is a headwind to the driver community, because there are a lot more of you, And so the requests are the same, the demand is the same, but there's a lot more of you now, right? So earnings are going to go down. It's clear. And now I've talked to, obviously, last Monday with the executives of Uber in length, and we're trying to come up with an earnings number for the average driver adjusted to inflation, because they always say stuff that our community goes crazy, right? They go, oh, they're making $30 an hour, blah 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 blah. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not buying any of that. Adjusted to inflation. I'm sure you have a couple of smart economists that at Uber and Lyft and DoorDash and all these massive companies. Let's see where they are, because we know, living day to day, not just a gig worker, forget being a gig worker, as a human, as a citizen of this country, we know how much more we're paying for everything since 2019. And and our tools are our cars, and we know how expensive those things are these days, even on used cars, and the maintenance of these cars, right? So we all know these things. So long story short, there's more drivers, demand is constant, it's still growing a little bit in single digits, but when your driver base grows by 30% and demand only grows by 5%, which is at Uber scale, 5% is massive. So earnings are going to be either stagnant or down. There's no question about that, right? And that's what that's what I hear. Drivers are suffering, out there from lack of and the thing is, these companies know this, obviously, and everybody's complaining, I don't make money, because now if they have so much supply, why do they have to incentivize anybody to come out and drive like the old days? They have cut down or reduced or totally eliminated incentives, because it's an incentive-based system, rideshare or delivery, both. And
the ones out there look just horrendous.
Yeah, they don't have to, and they know that. And look, they have an agenda as a company. They have to do what they have to do, because they have to show profits. And this is the time when they're showing profits, because they can charge as much and pay as little as they can in a 2 or 3-sided marketplace. And they're executing perfectly, but they're getting the tailwind. Nobody is dying, and I said this clearly to Darko Shoshai Monday. Nobody is dying to drive for Uber, okay, with the earnings trends that exist. So I go, please stop this nonsense of telling everybody that how wonderful it is, and it is whatever it is. It's a tailwind for you, it's a headwind for the community. And but I've been in this gig for a while. Since 2015 on Uber, 2016 on Lyft, and now I got 8 apps on my phone. There's always ebbs and flows. It's never the worst, and it's never the best. Although, like, coming out of the pandemic, because of shortage of drivers, I would go out there and knock out $70 an hour with my eyes closed doing rideshare. Now, even absolutely, and I did it. I've shown screenshots, written articles, and now we're on the downswing of that slope, right? And that swing is continuing, going, to go lower until the economy gets a little bit better, inflation subsides, and then people's W-2s are enough to live, okay? And then that crowd, it's a transitory crowd anyway, that oversaturation will disappear, and then things will get a little bit better again. But I've seen these ebbs and flows over the past, I don't know, 8 years or so, and I'm betting it's going to be one of those again. So it's not all bad, but for the foreseeable future, I don't see driver earnings or courier earnings going up, because these companies are fully taking advantage of. I'm not going to say exploiting. You guys have to put yourself in Uber and DoorDash's shoes. Let's just talk about Uber and DoorDash, because they're the two giants, right? Yep. And look, if I was Uber and DoorDash, would I do something different? You may hate me, you might like me for this. I'm fighting for you guys, but if I was them, I don't think I would be doing anything different, because I have shareholders. I mean, I'm responsible to make money as a company. On the other side, when when this downturn ends, I think things will be okay again.
I mean, do you think so? Look, with Uber, I mean, pre-March 29th, when the CARES Act went in and stay-at-home orders, Uber had, Uber Eats was barely. I know that where you are, it was used more, but even here in Denver, in a big city, catering apps weren't really used. Like DoorDash, Uber Eats wasn't really used. Grubhub was a little bit. They were very upfront, and they were used a little bit. But so when that happened and rideshare died off in a day, and food delivery took over, and now food delivery is just too oversaturated. Rideshare's coming back. What are the what is there even a fraction of a percent that like Connect and the new TaskRabbit feature in these on Uber are bringing in?
No, Mike, I think Uber as an app has become the super app, which it was always their ambition, and I think they're accomplishing that, and they're almost there, right? So, as a driver, I can literally spend my whole day on Uber. Okay,
Right.
I can do morning rush hour rideshare, do Uber Eats, Uber Connect, Uber everything pretty much during the lunch hour, let's say. Then I can switch back to rideshare, and then I can switch back to dinner time to either stay with rideshare or go with, Uber Eats. So they have become the super app. So as a driver, it's pretty convenient to stay on the same app, earn on the same app, and whatever not. But as we know, the more apps you have, the better it is for you, right? Because I say it all the time on Show Me the Money. My time is for sale to the highest bidder. I'm not loyal to any of these companies at all. Zero loyalty. And I'm also, by the way, I'm also not loyal to the passenger or the consumer. Okay.
Yeah.
And you may like me or not like me when I say that.
You said something a long time ago to David and I, and you and I had talked about it prior, but that's the time it stuck with me was your optimization rate.
Yep.
I mean, to that day, I still always, I always knew that, but I mean, like when you said it, it just kind of stuck with me.
Because there is, look, as much as these apps do what they do, active time, utilized time, dasher time, whatever, The last time I checked, there was still 60 minutes in an hour and 24 hours in a day. So that's not going to change, people. That's a constant. So what I want to do is I want to be active with the best orders I can get for those 60 minutes. That's all my goal is when I get out today. Okay. And to me, that cannot be done with a single app. Not anymore. You could be. In 2015, I only had Uber and I was killing it, but not anymore. So you have to have all the tools in your toolbox to be able to fill that hour with the best possible orders. Because we know DoorDash is not going to send you the best orders nonstop. Uber is not going to send you the best orders nonstop. You shut it off, you go to the other one, grab something there. So 10 minutes, maybe I'm selling to Uber, next 15 to DoorDash, next 10 minutes to Lyft. And because those are the best orders I'm seeing. Okay. That's how you make the most amount of money in these days in the gig world. Obviously, there are many things, as you have the task part, they're basically, added that into the app now. I mean, all they do is now literally they add stuff, right? Uber Eats was just food. Then they added different verticals. Now, shop and pay orders. I think those are great orders.
I mean, they also bought out Corner Shop from Peru, which makes me wonder. I mean, did they just buy Corner Shop? Because when they integrated Corner Shop, I don't think they made any changes from what it was, and everybody's like, "I love this." And then within 2-3 months, it had become Uber Corner Shop. And we all know what that means.
They also bought Postmates, right?
But I mean, for whatever reason, everybody loved Corner Shop. I remember reading a lot about it, and I'm like, well, now it's not even Corner Shop anymore.
No. What they do is they buy and put it under the umbrella. Yeah, they buy these companies and put it under the umbrella. They bought Drizzly, right? Drizzly was the alcohol delivery, and then now
for a lot of money too.
Exactly, but to them, look, you can organically grow or you can grow by acquisition, and they're choosing to grow by acquisition. So, but then now you have tasks like TaskRabbit, right? You can have different tasks that you can take on from, I don't know, like a handyman to go on fixing somebody's plumbing or whatever. So, so Uber has become the super app that for the gig worker, it's an essential thing to have. And look, gig workers are not stupid, okay? They see all this opportunity under one roof, and that's why their numbers went from 5 to 6.5 million, right? Because they go like, okay, I can be on a single app. Uber is going to give me all this. Again, I would not recommend it because there's throttle, there's possible deactivation, there's all these things, right? Those are the perils of the gig work. So I'm thinking, these are good things, right? I mean, as a gig worker, more choice is better. and Uber is going to keep expanding. And from groceries to tasks now to rideshare to food delivery to alcohol delivery, whatever. And I mean, I talked to him quite a bit on Monday, and he was like, go anywhere, do anything, order anything. That's their motto. Well, they're doing it. I'm like,
yeah, part of me has to wonder if, like you were mentioning, even like, hey, listen, the economy's been down since what you were saying, like 2019. And then we know that we hit some like major logistical problems about getting groceries.
yeah.
I think nobody will forget the toilet paper crisis of 2020. I mean, that's something that's ingrained in us.
I remember those.
But that pointed out how bad the supply chain was.
Yeah.
I mean, there were things that were just like, are you kidding me? Baby formula couldn't be found.
Yeah.
But then you pointed out, like, well, we've been dealing with this since. I mean, at that time, though, not about 6 months after the 2019 time frame you're talking about, everybody different levels, but everybody started getting stimulus checks and this and that. And
yeah.
I think that a lot of people, not only was it that there was no rideshare to be had in March, April of 2020, it's that everybody was stuck at home. I mean, they kind of had to, and then they learned about these apps, maybe even developed habits with them that now they don't realize how bad those are.
Yeah.
And I honestly believe many people ordering food cannot afford to order what they're ordering.
I agree. And DoorDash was like fledgling company before pandemic saved DoorDash. DoorDash wouldn't be around today if it wasn't for the pandemic, because it was money losing. It's still losing money. They did 562 million orders last quarter. They're still losing money. I go, where will it end? Your base pay down to $2. I'm going like, if you're not making money now, how are you going to make money if shit really slows down?
Or base pay down. Some of it's down to $1.
Is it? I haven't seen $1 yet. I've seen $2.
So no, if you get the
add-on,
if you get the add-on, it's $1.
Yeah. I've seen that at under $2. Yeah, I've seen that. So, and to me, right? DoorDash got saved by the pandemic, right? But to their credit, again, they're going into many, many different verticals now. Their grocery delivery business actually is doing really, really well. And as you said, people created habits for these things, right? It's an addiction. It really is.
Part of it's, I don't even know if they know they're in it now.
I don't think they do. They're in this universe of this push a button, get whatever you want kind of a thing, right? Yeah. And as much as we talk about gamification on the driver's side, I think that's also valid on the consumer side, right? Because they get like the high, or I order something, it's going to show up, and then you follow your driver. I go like, bro, just get in your car or walk a mile, pick it up.
Yeah, I mean, before the pandemic, you would have somebody working, like we all work, or most of us work very hard, especially us parents and whatnot. And like, to be honest, like before the pandemic, people weren't using these apps, although they were around. They were still going, oh man, it's 7:00. I got to get home, make the kids dinner. I got to stop at the store. Now I feel like they're like, oh, you know what? I'll just call Uber Eats.
Yeah.
And at that point, I'm like, you can't afford it.
Yeah. Well, that's why we see what's happening now, right? I mean, EBT orders are allowed now, all these things, right? And I doubt that those are going to be tipping orders. Yeah. And look, these companies' goal is to squeeze as many orders as possible into their system to make some money eventually. Uber is so far as the only one, even at their scale, like their gross revenue is $40 billion a quarter, and they made like $200 million. How's that margin working out for you? But I'm thinking on a major slowdown, I mean, a lot of these companies will disappear, and I'm not concerned about that part, because I think the survivability of the gig economy is not in question, but the survivability of some of these smaller players or companies. This proved one thing over the last decade: last mile delivery is a horrible business. Period. As a business.
I mean, you and I have straight up said about rideshare, listen, guys, it's a dispatch system.
It's a cab with
I mean, and if you look historically at dispatch systems, mainly what you'll find is taxis. Nobody ever like made their millions off the taxi industry.
Well, as the owner of the taxi company, which leases out the taxis to the drivers, drivers did not make any money.
Right. And I'm talking about like ones even like Uber going on the stock market, those kind of things. Like that's not where, even though all stocks are down a bit and whatnot, I don't see it anyway. I don't think that's where you're going to make your money.
No, but I mean,
Lyft or Uber.
Yeah, but Uber's case, from the public, now they're at 55 a share, so they're up about 20% in 3.5 years, which is not a great return. You could have gotten that return anyway. But we're not here for that. What we're here for is, look, these are historically low margin businesses, and they continue to be so even when it's on an app. Period. There was delivery before, people. There was delivery before, okay? Pizza Hut and the Domino's, there were delivery people before without the app. Now we have an app for everything. And even as they call it, we're creating efficiencies and scale and all these things, these mumbo jumbo words they squeeze in there. It's still not possible. I mean, if you did 562 million individual orders as DoorDash and still can't turn a profit by paying literally nothing, telling your drivers you're working for tips. Literally, that's what I think delivery is these days.
Look at this from Cody. I have seen a DoorDash stack 3 orders with a $2 base pay for the whole thing.
Great.
That's under $1. That's under $1 each.
You guys see what it says on my chest? Because with the green screen, it's kind of messed up. We have 2 sayings on Show Me the Money. Hashtag decline garbage. Hashtag know your worth. If you're that desperate that you're going to pick that up, I don't know. I don't think it's in our agenda, Steve, but we talked about this last week on Show Me the Money, and we put the video up. Holy crap. It just lit a firestorm about illegal fake accounts, black market accounts, immigrants getting into the business, working for the mafia and all this shit. Apologies for the shit.
No, I have it on my list.
I think that's really not getting enough play, and I'm going to do my best with my journalist friends to put this out there. It's unsafe for the consumer. Okay, you order food from Sergio, right? And Juanita shows up, and I'm like, no. And these companies know all this. They can stop this immediately. But who else is going to take that triple stack for $2?
Yeah, because it wasn't Cody. He said, "I've seen a door." He didn't. I know him.
I didn't say he didn't take it. I'm saying obviously he's the same person.
Yeah,
and he's not being pressured to take it. But again, out of 562 million orders DoorDash did, there were a whole bunch of those. I'm pretty sure, right? And those are individual orders. They're not dollars worth, by the way. Individual 500. And Uber did 2.44 billion orders. Billion with a B. It's individual trips, food or a delivery or a rideshare. Think about this size. Okay, so put those two together. 3 billion individual orders or rideshare trips. Think about that scale. So, and a lot of them are trash, garbage. And somebody's doing it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be 3 billion. We can all say, oh, cherry pick, oh, do this, oh, do that. I'm like, no, our reach is nothing, 1% of the total crowd. So, yeah,
this is
tons of that. Yeah,
I don't know if you know Zone. This is a listener up in Montreal, Quebec. He's saying that he's talking about data.
Data is money now. Data is gold now.
Yeah.
Do you guys, anybody in the chat, or you, Steve, or whoever's going to watch this later? How many bank robberies have you guys heard lately? And it's like, what's the point? I'm going to get busted. So now I might as well do hacking, get the money that way, or collect data and sell the data, and that's what they're doing. I mean, I'm telling you guys. So it's an amazing world out there that we're living in, and I have stopped watching other channels. I watch Steve because he puts out legitimate. I mean, not that the other ones are not legitimate. I don't want to insult anybody. A
little more entertainment.
It's more like get together kind of a thing. Yeah, it's like it's whatever. I don't have time for it, but I see a lot of people, being happy with what they're doing, and all power to you. Nobody's put a gun to your head not to do this.
Yeah.
Right. Nobody's forcing you to turn the app on, except that with these migrants that they're being pushed into this funnel and given some pocket money and working 12 hours and giving the owner bulk of the money that they earn. And that I'm going to bring that out, with the help of journalist friends, because that's not being talked about, and that's adding to what we started with, oversaturation, right?
And I want to add to that too, because Sergio, in 2019, I put up an article on Uber Lyft drivers, my website, that said that was Uber Eats drivers are renting out their jobs to illegal immigrants.
Yes, they are.
So that, right, this is 2019. That appeared in like the top 20 articles for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yep.
It has not appeared back in the top 20 since. For the past month, it's been in the top 5, if not the top 1 story, and it's from 4 years ago.
It's true.
Now,
right?
again, you can't just use that metric, but that's something, guys. I get a decent amount of volume at the website, and that's just one example of why is this 2019 story coming up so much? Why is
it was valid in 2019 to a certain degree, and to today it's very valid, very relevant. And I would put the piece. I'm an immigrant. I have nothing against immigrants, but I don't want these people's first experience in a country like ours to be being exploited, discriminated against, all that stuff. Plus, on the consumer side, it's not safe. Okay.
Yeah.
Because these people are not background checked. The background check is on the account owner, and you can buy a black market DoorDash, Uber, whatever account you want. And these companies are all going playing the game of, oh, is this safe? Our drivers gone through background checks. Well, except the driver that shows up is not the driver of the account. So, and these companies can put an end to this, but they will not. And I'll call them out every chance I get until this is fixed. I'm a huge proponent of every gig worker taking a selfie and uploading to their AI. And I heard the pushback on this. Oh, it's so inconvenient. I'm like, no, it's safer. 1, 2. And a lot of people said, oh, by the way, I can just take a picture of mine and show from one phone or a photograph to the AI. Their AI systems are so much smarter than what you guys think it is. That ain't going to work. Hey, man, every 2 hours, DoorDash should ask the dasher, take a picture.
Yeah.
How long does that take? 10 seconds?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can put a stop to this. They're not doing it. Why are they not doing it? Because that triple stack $2 is only going to be taken by a migrant who's working for some other owner of the account.
Or like, I heard you saying that you can go to the black market and get an account. There's even a worse thing going on of people who rent their accounts out daily.
Absolutely.
Who are like, give me $120, you can have my account for the day.
Yep.
And I know some gig workers who go out for the day and barely make 120 now.
Yeah, but what happens is that if that gig worker was making, let's say, okay, let's just do the math. If you do 12 hours of DoorDash and assuming 18 to $20 an hour gross, you're going to make $240, right? So if you give in the account owner 120 and you keep the 120, okay, that's nothing. That's bullshit wages for you. But if you're from Venezuela, if you're from Ukraine, if you're from wherever, you are making 120 a month, let alone a day. So I'm like, to them, it's gold. Again, nothing against the immigrants, nothing against the migrants. None of that is the issue. This is not political, people.
It's just hurting.
Bombard me with this stuff. So
it's just hurting all of it. Look, before this was a problem. It's been a problem for years, but before it was becoming so big, we already were oversaturated in every market. And that was by drivers who were working so hard to get off wait lists to do this and whatnot. And so that was already oversaturated. To put this on top of it is, I give it a lot more weight than most people do too. Most people are like, well, that's probably only handfuls of people. I'm like, no. I don't think because there's a lot of people who cannot get other work.
Nope. And again, that's the good part of the gig economy, right? I talked to thousands of drivers. Like a month ago, I was at LAX for 6 hours, and I talked to hundreds of drivers face to face, right? I see the desperation, right? I see the depression, that this is the only thing they can do. They either have a handicap, they're physically, can't work, all these things. They can hold a job. And look, the economy is doing wonders for these people because this is the only way they can earn. That's the good part of the gig economy. But the bad part of the gig economy is when you have the same size pie and many more mouths to feed, then everybody's going to get hurt. And look, there's not much can be done except that more, verifying ID checks and verifying, selfie verification. I do it every 6 hours when I drive rideshare. Every 6 hours, app goes, oh, can't go online, take a selfie. Okay, and I do it happily. Okay,
Yeah.
and
No.
and to me, that should be more often on delivery, because this is mostly happening on delivery. Not that people are not renting their accounts on rideshare, but the rider figuring out. I mean, the rider is looking at the account owner's picture, and then somebody else is showing up. It's pretty obvious because we're past the mask days now, right?
Well,
I
that's
mean,
what
you
I
can
was
tell
going
this
to
is not
add
the same
that
guy.
too. Not only do you have these workers coming on, and like you were saying, it's the only work they can get. They actually didn't get that work correctly. So you now have a very sketchy character who might not be sketchy, but if given the right situation, might take advantage of it because it's not their name on the account.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm like huge proponent of fixing this, and hopefully, um, you know, I mean, we'll see. These companies will not, cut the branch they're sitting on. I mean, this is great for them. Gets all those trash orders delivered. Because I don't think anybody in their right mind.
So are they
And then
renting
I
LOP?
large order program. I mean, look, if the account holder comes with an LOP, you're automatically going to get the LOP.
Or maybe
Um,
those are more on the black market. Maybe if you just want
maybe
generic
they'll ask you
100,
for a higher
maybe.
percentage,
Exactly.
But then that's such a small piece of DoorDash. I mean, LOP is not a huge part of DoorDash. So, and just like, I mean, there are people who, at airports pulling things, weird things are happening at airports. People are complaining. All kinds of things are happening. Look, technology is technology, and then there's going to be people who take advantage with some, backdoor, I mean, cheating thing or whatever you want to call it. If there was an app like we know it exists. Bots exist in this world, right? Even if you're the account holder, if you don't have a bot on Instacart, you're not going to get good orders. Period. That's it. That's a fact. If you don't
Yep.
have a bot on other apps, or like even the simplest thing, you're trying to buy something on eBay, and you will always be outbid by a penny the last second. That's a bot. Okay, you ain't that quick. It's not going to work. So it's happening. Look, you know, and get a bot yourself and do it
Yeah.
until you get caught.
So I guess let's merge this in because I know you were talking about ending with potentially Harry. I don't even know if after that story if he's gonna do it with you or if he was gonna like, no, it's
Oh,
you, Harry.
oh. He already did it. It's already in the can.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's on. No, he does. Look, I mean, I got to give Harry credit here. Harry has
Oh
not.
no, dude. I think you and I
Harry
both give
don't
him
touch
probably the
anything
most
I do
credit.
because
So
he sees that what I do, I vet everything. No, we already put it in the can. It was done 2 weeks ago. Yeah,
okay. Okay.
yeah.
I didn't know
So
if you were gonna say, but you gotta do 10 rides first.
I don't know when last time Harry did 10 right dinner, and maybe he doesn't have to. But that's why he said that. And I asked him that, and that's why he says that's why I have you.
So looking into 2023, we kind of talked about how, rideshare drivers are struggling.
Yeah.
Everything's oversaturated. We know people are struggling right now, and normally it's picked back up. I don't believe in the talk of, oh, it's always this. And so nothing's always ever anything. So, but looking into 2024, what are you hoping to see?
I am
I mean,
hoping.
that's realistic too.
No, realistic. Everything I say is what I think. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything.
Yeah,
I
yeah, I
think
know.
I think this oversaturation trend is going to continue, right? Earnings are going to be stagnant, if not lower, a little bit more, right? And look, these companies are trying to be profitable. The only way they can be profitable, two-sided marketplace is rideshare. Three-sided marketplace is delivery. Two-sided rider driver, three-sided rider. I mean, consumer, driver, and restaurant. So these companies are, through their magic of their wonderful algorithms, they're playing the game, and you guys got to play the game. to make the same amount of money as you were making, or you got to work longer hours. Look, I met a driver last time I was at LAX. He's a young Ukrainian kid. He lives pretty close to my house. Okay. He works 80 hours a week on rideshare. Okay. 80 hours. And he drives out of the 80, he drives about 60. So that's 60 he has a passenger in the car. And he's still grossing 3K a week. I have his screenshots. So don't tell me it can't be done. And
Tony does it too.
That's what I'm saying. But in our newer generation, or whatever these, called whatever Z, X, Y, Z, whatever generation people are these days, they all I do is like, oh, I'm not making money. I'm like, yeah, you will. If you put in 70 hours, you will. I mean, yeah, you were making the same money in 50 hours. Now you got to work 70 hours to make the same money, right? Is it a good thing? No, of course not. That means you have to work harder. You have to work more. You have to hustle more. And ultimately, the money is still out there, but you have to work more for it. I get it. I get all the negative stuff. But if this is your calling and you're going to do this full time, you have to do certain things. And the trend, I don't see changing. I mean, I don't see the trend changing as far as oversaturation is concerned. I don't think these companies are going to come out and say, yeah, we have so many drivers, we want everybody to make money, we're going to pay more, because they don't have to. They're not going to. They also figured out in a 2 or 3-sided marketplace, with certain elasticity you have on the consumer, you cannot charge more than they can pay. That's the elasticity part. But on the driver side, I think it's as low as it's going to get. Is it going to go to zero? No. Base pay is not going to go to zero. But it may go to 50 cents on DoorDash.
I mean, Cody just showed us that it's under $1.
Yeah. So my thing is, pain is going to be there a little bit longer. Okay. Until inflation cools off and all these transitory million people who just got flushed into the gig work, they get flushed out. And the good news about that is, if you look at the history of Uber, this is not my number, this is Uber's number. Uber says the average lifespan of a gig worker, I'm not going to say rideshare driver, but we used to just say rideshare driver, is 8 months or less. So they basically have to replenish the whole driver base every 8 months to a year, right? So they're going to keep adding new drivers because whoever they hired 8 months ago is going to quit. And if the inflation cools off, I think these people are not going to do this, and they're just going to go home and sit, and their paychecks is going to be enough to cover everything they have going, and we're going to be okay again. So I would say the first 6 months is going to be tough of next year, my prediction. And towards the end of next 6 months, I see inflation cooling off quite a bit, interest rates getting cut again, and things are going to be okay. And again, it's not all bad.
No. I mean, you live in sunny Southern California. Many of us don't. I don't. It's sunny where I live, but it gets cold. Like January, February can be rough. I mean, what's going to happen even to these people who have whether they be illegals or the oversaturation people? Do you think they're going to tough out making a third of what they are making now?
Yeah, I mean, what choice do they have, right? And it's a rough thing to say, but somebody's going to say it. So I think people who are doing this for total peanuts under the pressure of some other, I don't want to say it, but that was last year's prediction. I wasn't my prediction, traveler. But yeah, I mean, they have to do what they have to do to put food on their family's table, man. Yeah. And I can't blame them for what they're doing. And it's just unfortunate that they're introduced into such a game at such a horrible time, right? My thought process is, everything ebbs and flows. There is a sinus wave, even in the ocean. Once in a while, you have a hurricane. We're having a hurricane right now. The waves are really big. But then everything calms down, and then you have the ebbs and highs and lows, peaks and valleys. And I would say we're pretty close to a valley when it comes to earnings, and things will get better probably after June or so, after summer is over next year, and that's my prediction.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I hope maybe in those earlier months, maybe it's a good idea, guys, to try the smaller guys out. Go and try your hand at other things if you're that dedicated to the gig economy, because I mean, I believe that with the giant apps too, nothing has been a sign of when and how it's going to get better.
Yeah.
But let's make sure we hit on these last couple things, because the last time we talked, I know you were looking into it. I don't know what you ever found out, but it was such an interesting concept that potentially, because I mean, look, I haven't talked about this in a while, but we're ending the year. Potentially Prop 22 in California isn't not only hurting the gig companies, it could be making them money.
On that one, I have to stay mum because we're working on that with one of my favorite journalists, Brian Merchant. It's tough to get information from these companies, man.
Yep.
That's what I'm running into. But it's working out.
But the theory that you were talking about before, and just real quick, guys, I didn't know, not living in California, I didn't know that if I'm on the customer side, I'd heard things, but I guess I didn't really put 2 and 2 together on this, was that on every order, there's a line item for Prop 22 that the customer's paying.
Yeah.
So it's not like how everybody made it sound. AB5 is separate. Prop 22 was the carve out for the gig economy. And it was supposed to be that these companies are incurring fees to help drivers. The drivers that were loving Prop 22, some still might like it, but most of the ones I know who were like, sweet, are not happy with it anymore. This was not a good model.
The only people that are happy doing, with Prop 22 are delivery workers.
Yeah.
Because the base pay is so horrible now that pretty much on every order, you're going to get some Prop 22 money. So what I'm seeing happening is that rideshare drivers are subsidizing what the delivery workers are getting paid in California. That's what Prop 22 is good for. Traveler, Sergio at the rideshareguy.com. Send me the content where I said it's exactly what I said this year, because we didn't have to deal with inflation last year. I mean, I'm not questioning it. We may have said it. And so I'm thinking Prop 22 is loved by delivery drivers now because base pay is horrible.
Yeah, I know. And it's like you and I have talked about, it's almost like, well, why wouldn't everybody just have 100% acceptance rate? Because it doesn't matter what the tip is.
In rideshare, it doesn't make sense.
But and again, guys, remember that when they did AB5 and they carved out Prop 22,
yeah,
it's like going back in our conversation to earlier where, there was no volume with the delivery app. So I don't think they were really thinking about that.
Yeah, because the pandemic showed up right after.
Right. So they were thinking rideshare drivers. And as Sergio's saying, and as I know from talking with people too, the rideshare drivers don't see it.
Not as much, because look, Prop 22,
an active hour on rideshare should be more than 120% of your cities.
Well, I mean, this is the way they wrote it, but the other thing is, as a rideshare driver, look, Prop 22 is capped. Okay, $19, let's say a change in LA County minimum wage, 120% of that. It's about 22, 22 and a half. Add the mileage, because of the healthcare stipend, that part of it, that when they drive 25 plus active hours per week after week, and then after 3 months, they will get a healthcare stipend, right? That part of it is beneficial. But then on the other hand, that's a lot of hours, because look, Uber and Lyft said it themselves, 80% of their drivers are super part-time drivers, right? So automatically you're kind of eliminating by writing this kind of a law into, but you have to have a health group, I know who you are, so let's not get into that now. But to get the healthcare stipend, to get, when you get the cash, you have to have an approved plan in their system to get the cash. Otherwise, you're not going to get the cash. And their approved healthcare providers has to be on the list that Uber or Lyft approves. And most people who are doing rideshare, they have coverage through their spouses. You're not going to get that money if that's the case. Or, if you're a Medi-Cal, which a lot of rideshare drivers are.
That's what I was going to mention. I mean, I don't know why that is.
You're not going to get the stipend either. Yeah, you're not going to get the stipend. But I feel like, when Uber and Lyft says 80-20, meaning 80% of the drivers are part-time, 20 are full-time. So that 20% full-time, yeah, you're getting the healthcare stipend. But then there's other roadblocks. But let's say you're getting it. But as a rideshare driver, if you figure the miles, the component of this 34 cents plus the 120%, you're going to cap out, let's say, top out at 23 to 25 per hour, per active hour. And let's say you're a driver, rideshare driver, that literally have auto accept on. And these apps are busy, like in California, that depending on what city you're in, if you're in the middle of nowhere, probably not. But let's say if you're in LA, right? They're ping after ping after ping after ping. There's nonstop. So you just leave it on auto accept and you're active the whole 60 minutes. Literally, you drop off, pick up, drop off, pick up, drop off, pick up, right? So you're under Prop 22, your max is about 24, 25 max, because in LA, you can't really drive 20 miles in an hour. So if that was the case, and your hourly expenses on an average car, let's say, is $5 to $7 an hour. If you have a newer car, it's on the higher end. If you have a older car, maybe it's on the lower end. But so if you take that out, you're netting right about 20. And if you're full-time, you're getting a healthcare stipend. Those people like it. But automatically, since 80% are super part-time, as Uber and Lyft say, or DoorDash says, or whoever else says, that's what they say. And I believe them, because it's not because what they said, it's true. This is because 80% supposedly, according to them, is super part-time or part-time, less than 10, 20 hours a week. Well, you're not going to get the Prop 22. The only thing you're going to get not as a rideshare driver, you're not going to get Prop 22 money. But as a delivery driver, even if you're super part-time, you get the top up, because orders are so horrible, $2, $1.50, whatever. And as a delivery driver, that's also 23, 24 per hour. So you literally can take every order as a delivery driver and basically guarantee yourself 23, 24 bucks, even if you're part-time. So, as far as that's concerned, yeah, maybe.
I mean, if let me move my market just so to even make a more basic understanding of this. I hate Instacart. Everybody knows that. Instacart took $8 and cut it down to $4 for the base pay on some. If I moved to San Francisco, the minimum wage is $19.88, I believe. We'll call it 20. So 120% of $20 would be $24 an hour. Instacart would have to pay me $20 on every order I took.
Yeah.
On the if they're saying, I mean, like, this is where I'm like, why are you even using base pay? Why do you even say base pay 4? It's actually 24, because a shop takes over an hour.
Yeah, and you're active for that hour, right?
So why not just take it away and say you're going to make 24, because that's
that's why these orders are getting delivered.
Yeah,
because I can take in California, I can take every $2 Uber Eats or DoorDash order.
Right.
Because I know I'm going to get 24, right? 25, whatever. I don't care. Now, if you're on every weekend, you're driving, delivering 10, 15, 20 hours a weekend, right? Just might as well stay active. Take that 24. And if you're driving a beater, your costs are nothing. Or you're doing it on an e-bike or a scooter or whatever, your costs are less that way. Then yeah, it makes sense. In those cases, Prop 22 makes sense. They're not going to get the healthcare stipend, but they'll probably get the top up, as we call it. And every 2 weeks, every 2 weeks from Uber, and every week from DoorDash, you'll get that top up, because they have to top it up. So look, Prop 22 is good for a small minority of the people that are doing gig work. And as far as rideshare, for my money, if you're the rideshare driver and you're getting Prop 22 money top up, you're a horrible driver. You should stop driving.
I was just going to say that. I was just going to say, I don't want to call somebody a horrible driver. I don't know. But if that's all you're making, then you need to find new fishing holes or talk to some new people or something.
Yeah, dude, improve your game, bro. Yeah.
Watch Show Me the Money Club. They talk about it every
Yeah,
week.
whatever. But like the Professor Kilomiler, who I personally know who he is, like he drives in Orange County somewhere and he kills it. He's like 60, $70 an hour active hour, right?
Okay.
I mean, you know, look, there are people who are doing this. As I said last time I was at LAX, I saw that kid and I gave him my card and I said, send me these screenshots. 80 hours online, 50, 55 active, 2,500 to 3K a week after week after week in LA.
Mm-hmm.
He ain't making it. He ain't lying. I saw the app.
Yep.
He didn't doctor those numbers. He's
Yeah.
making the money.
No, I mean, look, guys. I mean, Driven Dad was in here too, Tony. Shout out to Tony, but he does it too. But he has his vehicle rental for the Tesla.
Yeah.
He has, I mean, now there he saves some gas money, but I mean, it's one thing after the other too. It's all the expenses. But yeah, I mean, if you're making that much, you're being able to deal with the expenses if you're doing them correctly and still making good money.
Well, expenses are not going to be that crazy. Okay. I mean, if you're bringing in, 2,500 to 3K gross a week after week, and this is not for everyone. This guy wakes up at 3:34 every morning. He hits the airport runs. He does a lot of reserve trips, and he drives Uber X. He's not like he's driving Uber Black or some super Uber.
He's exhausted.
But look, man, he's bringing in the cash. He's young. He's like 28. He goes, he's a Ukrainian kid. He goes, I have a plan B. I'm just going to hit this hard for 2 years and save my money. And, I mean, look, this is what the gig economy is for. It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
And I told him, I go, you better be saving 1,000 or that 3 a week, every week, right? He goes, yeah, I am. I bought another Honda hybrid with that car I saved last year. I'm going like, there you go, right? So he's putting that on Turo now. Look, there is good stuff happening in the gig work. You need to put the hours in. If you're going to live in the past, meaning, oh, I used to make $50 an hour. I'm like, yeah. And now you have to work a little bit more, and you can't live in the past. So you just figure out like this guy here.
Or you have to tweak your hours. Something has to change. You can't just keep.
Every market is different. Everybody's rhythm is different. Every city is different. You have to put thought into it. You can't go like, not going to work.
And that's where, like sometimes I get into the discussion with people about flexibility because I'm like, well, flexibility also means giving back to the system because sometimes you might need to juggle it backwards and reverse engineer it.
Yeah.
And therefore it's not totally flexible to you. It's still flexible, but you might have to, how am I going to get my kid? How am I going to do this? How am I going to?
Yeah, but if you have your app on 80 hours and you're actually with a butt in the back seat 60 hours or period 2, period 3, as we call it, flexibility kind of disappears because there's only 168 hours a week. Right. You got to still sleep, you got to eat, you got to work out, do whatever you got to do, have some time. And this is perfect like for a single guy, let's say, with no ties, no other responsibility to hit it hard. 3K, 3K, 2K, 3K, 3K, boom. And now you got shit ton of money saved up. Do it again next year, 2 years. You save yourself 80, 100K, 50K, whatever you save. Go open a business, do whatever, you educate yourself, education, whatever. That's what the gig economy is for. But you got to work.
All right. So as we wrap this up, I want to see how much of this we can touch on because I know you're a big proponent of the Seattle model. And if we find time to touch on Chicago and Massachusetts, because we're just hitting the end of time, but if we can go a couple minutes over, but
that's okay. We'll always go over,
Steve. So DoorDash and Uber Eats and Instacart is taking the city of Seattle to court over 10 cents per order. And by the way, that 10 cents would go to a lot of good things.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I mean, we talk about PR and stuff. Is this really a PR they want? Because Seattle will make a big story of this.
I don't think these companies care. I think they have their playbook set. They're going to have that playbook. They're going to, apply this playbook, period. And their playbook is pretty obvious to me. And they're going to resist every possible down to a dime increase on the consumer. because they're crunching numbers and they're going, okay, demand may go down 0.3% if we raise it by 10 cents, and that 0.3%, if to them it's like millions and millions of dollars. You know what I mean? To us, it's like a dime, no big deal. To these companies don't look at it that way, and that's the understanding I got on Monday talking to all these execs. They go like, we don't want to raise take rates, take 50% of the chip. We want to take less actually. Just create more demand, right? And make it cheaper. But then to them, at 2.4 billion trips a quarter, 1/10 is like 100 million bucks on the bottom line. So to them, they don't have to move the take rate too much. To the driver, it makes a big difference. But that 10 cents legislation thing, they have every step of the way, they resisted all these things in Seattle. But Seattle's, city council is so strong. I don't think it's going to fly. As far as Massachusetts, I got when I got home today, I had 28 emails, and 8 were about Uber started sending all Boston and Massachusetts drivers the in-app notifications, and they were all asking me, should I say yes to this? I'm going I don't even know what it is. I know what it is. It's a watered down version of Prop 22. And I'm like, my suggestion, read it, understand it. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I have an opinion about it. I would say no, as long as you can find out if this is a consumer subsidized proposition. If you think it is, you should make that clear to your legislatures that this is not paid by Uber and Lyft, this is subsidized by the consumer. There's that part we're trying to find out, but I am opposed to Prop 22 legislation anywhere for the fact that this is what I'm seeing in LA after 3 years with this wonderful upfront algorithm. Doesn't mean there aren't guys like Kilomiler over there, Kill It, or this Ukrainian kid or whatever, because they put thought into it. They strategize and they zig, they zag. They need to do what they need to do. But in general, all the rideshare and the delivery garbage, complete garbage.
Yeah.
All the rideshare pings that I'm seeing, the algo is lowering it right a touch above Prop 22 level, right, on active hour basis.
Which they already tried to fight for when the governor was the AG.
Yeah.
They already tried to fight for this in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And
now I think, the in-app push has started early, kind of, for an election next year. But, they're good at that game, bro. They have that.
I am always of the, and I mean, again, like Sergio said, make sure you read it. I know a lot of people don't read the terms of service, but read these. But I'm always of the opinion, if the app is sending it to you, it's probably not a good idea.
If the app is sending it to you, it's got to be good for the app. and then
it might say this is to your benefit, which means this is not to your benefit.
Yeah, that's right. And the other thing is, I'm sure they have more power on the consumer side, because consumers are going to get this, saying that your fares are going to double, triple. I'm like, okay.
So if you guys haven't, before we talk about Chicago here, real quick, if you guys haven't seen the Show Me the Money Club, where Sergio and Chris had the CEO from Lyft on, or Sergio's piece on speaking with Dara, the Uber CEO, make sure to check those out. I mean, even this Boston stuff, I've got a couple pieces up on this. I know these guys have talked about it.
Lastly, I mean, Steve, Chicago, we had the sponsoring alderperson, Michael Rodriguez, on Show Me the Money, as well as Lori Simmons, who was head of the driver union there. So they were on the show. They can go watch that.
That's the last one I was going to get to, because Chicago is really, really fighting. I mean, not that other states aren't, but they're fighting in all kinds of directions. Everybody seems to have their hand in this.
Yeah, there is some news to come up on that Chicago one. But look, I think legislation is, at this point, is city by city, state by state. I know in your state, Stephanie is working on some stuff, right? New stuff. I don't know where.
Actually, the CEO of Dumpling was on the Para Live with us last week. Joel Shapiro, he's a friend of mine. He sits on the Seattle City Council.
Yeah,
he was part of that push to get that passed. So he had a 2-hour discussion with Stephanie.
Yeah,
I just introduced the two of them, and he's like, "Man, I talked to her for 2 hours."
Yeah, no, Stephanie is smart. Obviously, I don't know where our Senator Priola is. I know this, but But yeah, so there is legislation happening, and look, Uber is good at what they do, and DoorDash is good at what they do. They resist, they threaten leaving, do this, do that, whatever. And unfortunately, they play the game at a very high level, and they put a lot of pressure on these legislators, and they have a lot of lobbying power, they have a lot of money, and they're listened to. But one thing we should end with that is I spoke to the gentleman who, with the AG of New York, was at the table negotiating the Uber settlement from Uber. Okay. His name is a public name. I'm not going to give it. You guys will figure out who he is. I personally have spoken to him. Okay. And he goes, Sergio, we got all we want, and you can take it for whatever it is. All we want is drivers staying independent contractors. We're willing to come sit at the table. That's all we want. And that's what happened in New York, because now they're contributing to the UI fund with a $26 minimum protection, wage protection. Okay. Because we don't want to resist, do everything we can. We cannot have people as employees. We just can't. But if you agree to staying independent contractors, we are 100% going to sit at the table and talk to you.
Yeah.
That's all there is to
Because
it.
again, still to this day, and I mean, perfect timing with the end of the year, all of these, like, I mean, Sergio's 100% right. The PRO Act got kicked and ruined. They tried to shove it through in parts. It's not going to happen on a federal level. It's going to be state by state. But one of the biggest accidents we made, because now we're holding everybody to the Barella or the IRS or the ABC test. I think one of the biggest mistakes made was not defining the app-based gig economy separate from gig independent contractor traditional
For sure.
economy,
For
and
sure.
giving them a definition that these states could work off with the legislation.
For sure. And I'm telling you, horse's mouth. I'm looking at him on Zoom 2 weeks ago, because we had the settlement details before they announced it. He said, Sergio, all I'm telling you is, if you're going to do work on this, please do it in a way that makes sure you guys come to the table as independent contractors. That's all we want. If you say that, come to the table with that idea. We're willing to talk. We're willing to give you pay increases. We're willing to give you anti-deactivation rights. We're willing to give you all that stuff. But if you come with the idea that unionize, employee model, all this stuff, it's not going to work. We're going to kill it, and we're going to spend the money, and we're going to do it. And they haven't done it? Of course they have. Look at Colorado, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Chicago. Well, Chicago's coming, but right, Prop 22 not going up in Massachusetts. They have a playbook. They're going to follow
Connecticut, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, they're all
$110
doing
billion
things, guys.
company. It's a $110 billion market cap company. Uber is.
Mhm.
You think they're messing around here? They have $110 billion market capitalization to protect. Because tomorrow, if they say, oh, everybody employees, that 110 billion goes poof. And
Yeah.
This is not about selling out, and this is being reasonable. And you want to stay independent, don't you, Steve?
Oh, I have to, because I
Okay.
don't just
Wow.
do. I mean, not everybody has this scenario, but I do other things outside of gig apps where that's going to conflict. And if,
give him something, get something. If you don't,
Yeah.
if you
plus,
just say,
plus, I understand independent contractorship. So if I don't like what I start to see, I can walk away from something.
I get it, and a lot of people will say, well, I don't feel like I'm an independent contractor doing gig work. We can debate that. It's a different subject.
Yeah.
But these people are serious people, man. You better come with the goods.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it really will depend on your state. Even if like every state doesn't go to an employee franchise union model, it's still, some states are going to look a lot worse than others.
Okay, well, okay, Derek, I know his name. Someone call him Derek, Professor Kilomiler. I can't keep saying that. Yes, Derek, that's true. Last mile delivery is not included in the Chicago ordinance yet. But they're working in Seattle, Washington State on delivery drivers now. So, they may get some stuff. Anyway, but that's anything. Do we have anything left on the board to discuss?
No, we hit it all. So, guys, that's a wrap for the week. That's the 300th episode. Thank you if you watched live. Thank you if you watch on replay. And thank you all audio podcast listeners for listening to the Rideshare Rodeo podcast. This journey wouldn't have been this journey without you. It's been growing. And to those of you on YouTube, I suggest some of you maybe check it out too. You can watch it on Spotify, Apple, anywhere you'd listen to podcasts, because it is a little bit different than what I bring over to YouTube. But I also want to thank special thanks to my friend Sergio for co-hosting with me today.
Anytime.
And you can find Sergio on the Rideshare Guy. You can find him on Show Me the Money Club on YouTube and on audio podcast.
Yeah,
So the audio podcast people listening, it is on audio podcast too now.
Yes, we are. We're on all the podcast channels. But tomorrow, if I may plug it, we have not the only, one of the 2 or 3, I think, vertically integrated business models regarding rideshare in the country called Alto, who owns their cars, employs all their drivers. Okay, yep. They're all employees. And I have the CEO, Will Coleman, on tomorrow. We're going to say, well, if gig is not working for you, maybe you can put an Alto shirt and an Alto hat on, and the car is given to you clean, full of gas. All you do is drive. And that could be another option for you guys. So that's it.
Yeah, I had Alto on a few months back, not the C. I think I had the CTO. I'd have to go back and look. But regardless, it was very interesting. But at the time, actually, it was many months, because at the time, all the ride shares hadn't fallen so low, so it didn't seem like it was really a player. But I know they've made some changes to the positive while all the negatives happening over here. So
well, we're going to find out tomorrow, because we don't have a script. We're going to give him the tough questions and squeeze him a little bit. Will, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So you guys check out, always check out. I mean, it's Tuesdays. I'm not going to give you my time, because my time's
3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern.
There you go. Yeah, because I'm always thinking like Cam 4. So
yeah, that should be a good discussion, because a lot of people are saying I'm not making money, and I'm like, okay, you have no expenses, you have possible 401k, you have possible healthcare, possible. I'm saying you're probably gonna make, I don't know, minimum wage-ish, $22 an hour. Sitting in a nice clean car, drive, high-end clientele, right? It's not like rideshare; they're gonna throw you all the trash. Not passenger wise, I'm talking trip wise. And
they do say to their customers, I don't know if they've changed this, you'll find out tomorrow, but they do say don't tip.
Yes, Will is 100 million% against tipping.
Yes, so that's a weird
We're
thing.
We're gonna ask him that too. Yeah.
But guys, thank you for joining us. Be safe, earn smart, and most of all, guys, have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Take the day off, do something fun.
Be safe.
Yeah.
If you're gonna drive, deliver, be safe.
But that's it, guys. Thank you for watching the 300th episode, and we will see you back here next week. Peace.